Welcome to part 2 of the S9609 sew along. In this video, I'm going to show you how to finish off your swimsuits. One of many things I love about the S9609 is that it's a really quick sew and it uses a lot of the same application. So for this next step, we will be sewing fold over elastic to all the edges. After that, you attach the top to the bottom. For one of the views, you attach a barrel closure at the back, and then you're done. So it's a really quick and easy sew, which I love. So at this point, you should have your top and bottom assembled for both views. I went over that in the last video. So that was the top, this is the bottom. And for the other one, this is the bottom, and this is the top. Which before we do the next step, we will sew this at the shoulder seam with a straight stitch, and then you can serge it if you have a serger, because at the last step we only sewed the vertical seams. And then, this is the other one. And then you should have your modesty panel as well. So we're gonna be sewing fold over elastic. You're first gonna sew the shoulder seam. Let me move this down. You'll first sew the shoulder seam, straight stitch, serge if you have a serger, and then we're gonna attach fold over elastic, and I'll show you where to attach it. And I'm gonna switch views and show you, get underneath the sewing machine and show you how to sew fold over elastic. But just for now, I'm going to point out the edges. So it's the center front edge, the center back edge, the armhole, the top and bottom edge of the modesty panel, the leg openings on both panties, not panties, bikini or one piece bathing suits. I'm just so used to doing panty tutorials and bra tutorials instead of bathing suit tutorials. So you'll do the same thing for the other view, is finish it with fold over elastic on the swimsuit leg openings. And then the bodice portion, the neckline all the way, the armholes, and then for the bottom of this edge, you're gonna go from this opening all the way down. And then once we do that, we'll be able to attach the bodice to the swimsuit top to the swimsuit bottom. And that's pretty much it, except for attaching a barrel closure on one of them. Super easy. All right, so let's move over to the sewing machine to show you exactly how to sew fold over elastic. Let's move on to sewing the fold over elastic. I'm going to demonstrate on the modesty panel, which I'm referring to it as the modesty panel, but it actually is the front underlay. It's piece number 3. Just because it's really small, and I'm able to demonstrate the fold over elastic all on camera without any parts of the pattern piece falling off. Okay, so you have your fold over elastic, and let's look at fold over elastic. So you can see here that there is an indentation down the center. That is what is going to wrap around the edge of the fabric. So essentially, when you are sewing, you want that indentation to line up with the edge of the fabric. I'm going to be using a zigzag stitch. And you might be thinking, well, what zigzag stitch setting are you going to use? I'm just going to pin this so that they don't become separated. They stay together, the lining and the main fabric. So you might be asking, well, what zigzag stitch width do you use? That is going to vary from machine to machine. So essentially, you want it to be about 1/4 of an inch or a little bit less than half of the width of the elastic from the indentation to the edge. So you want it to be a little bit less than half the width of the fold over elastic from the indentation to the edge. So you're gonna lay with wrong side face up. So the biggest difference between sewing fold over elastic and picot elastic, which is used a lot in bra making, is that you start with the wrong side face up. So wrong side face up. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a tail at the end. I always do this. So if you see here, this is the edge of my fabric. I'm gonna leave the elastic hanging over a little bit. You're gonna sew it with a zigzag stitch. Now I know the zigzag stitch for my machine. And I'm gonna stitch it and then I will show you how it should look. I think seeing the finished zigzag stitch is easier to understand. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of a tug, a little bit of tension, which you should in sewing any type of elastic. I do have a separate YouTube tutorial on how much tension to apply to elastic if you're wondering about that. We give a little bit of a tug. Now, if you see here, yeah, you can see it black on black. The stitches are really close to the edge of the elastic. They're not like down the center. You can see it here. It is close to the edge of the elastic. Now, if you have anything hanging over, I always like to use my duck-billed scissors and cut really close to the stitches. It just helps with the second pass. When you turn it back, it just makes it a lot easier to sew. It is an extra step, so take that into account, but if you want a really enjoyable sewing experience, I suggest cutting it. So then you turn to the right side and you fold the fold over elastic to the right side and you're gonna stitch it down again. And you're going to stretch the elastic just the same amount that you stretched it in the first pass. And that's how you sew fold over elastic. Now, this is probably gonna be the longest step of sewing the S9609, but you're gonna sew fold over elastic to all of the edges that I pointed out in the last scene when I was doing the overhead look. And then I will do it to mine and I will show you what it should look like. Okay, so I have sewn the fold over elastic along the leg openings, the front neckline, and the armhole. I've also sewn the fold over elastic at the top and bottom edges of the modesty panel or the front underlay. So the next step is to pin the bathing suit top to the bathing suit bottom, which I have already done. And you wanna have your center front, you can have them kissing, which is next to each other, or you can have them overlap like I have done here. You are gonna sew this with either a zigzag stitch or a lightning stitch if your machine has it. So a lightning stitch is like literally a lightning, looks like a lightning bolt, but it also allows you to press the seams open so that it lay nice and flat, but a zigzag stitch will work. Once you've done that, I suggest that you try the bathing suit on. And if you are using the front underlay, I would suggest pinning it in place. Even though that the pattern has notches, I suggest trying it on, making sure that it's at the right spot, and then pinning it in place and just using a zigzag stitch to go back and forth to secure it in place. And that's how you would finish off this view. And then for the other view, Again, I sewed the folder elastic along the leg line, at the waistline, on pretty much all the edges. Super cute, super cute. Can't wait to wear this. I laid the bathing suit top underneath the waist of the bikini bottom, or the bathing suit bottom. I overlapped it so that it was extending about 1/4 of an inch down. So I'm gonna sew it together, same way as I'm gonna sew the front underlay, is that I'm just gonna take a zigzag stitch and go across. You can back stitch at the beginning and the end, or you can go all the way down and all the way back. And then to finish it off, you are gonna take your barrel closure, you feed it through the end, you wrap it back, and then you just do a straight stitch either on just the fold over elastic or all the way down and all the way back again. So I'm gonna go do those steps, and then I will show you what it should look like when it's finished. Okay, so here is my finished bathing suit and what it should look like at this point. I am not sewing the front underlay or the modesty panel, but again, if you want to, I would suggest laying it, trying it on, and then pinning it in place so you have the right placement. And then the other view, I will show you what it looks like finished. Super cute. I have sewn the top to the bottom at the waist, and then I attach the barrel closure at the back, right here. Okay, so I hope that this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions, you can always email hello@madalynne.com. Don't forget to show off your swimsuits on Instagram, tag at @Madalynne, as well as Simplicity Patterns.